I've got an album of black and white photos made in my old darkroom. Must be 40 years old now. Every so often I get them out and I can't quite work out why. They still look better than most of what I shoot digitally today. It's not the sharpness. My camera's miles sharper than anything I shot back then. It's something else. Something in the grain, in the way the highlights bloom slightly around a bright edge, in the tones of the paper itself. And for years I just accepted that was a thing you couldn't get back. Film was film and digital was digital, and you did the best conversion you could and you left it there. I was wrong. In this video I'll show exactly why. Using a piece of software that's changed how I think about my black and white work. I'll talk you through it from scratch, so if you've never touched it before, by the end you'll be able to sit down and do it yourself. Here's what we're doing. I've got raw files from a recent trip to the Yorkshire Dales, and I'm going to process one properly, start to finish, in a piece of software called Dehancer Desktop. Quick bit of honesty before we start. Anyone can download this and try it for free. Dehancer haven't paid me for this review, but if you buy it using my discount code, I get a small commission. Now, we'll cover three things: choosing the right film character, the texture and glow that make a print feel alive, and finishing and exporting, so you can do this across a whole shoot, not just one photo. If you only take away one thing from this video, it's this. The thing that's missing from most digital black and white isn't sharpness or contrast, it's restraint and physical texture. And once you can see it, you can't unsee it. So let's start at the beginning. Dehancer Desktop is a standalone. You don't need Lightroom or Photoshop as well. Open it up and bring in your images. There's a browser along the left-hand side, and you just point it at your raw files folder. I'm going to work with a shot from Cauldron Falls, one of the Dales images from my What the Stone Remembers project. I'll select it and open it in the develop module. To make life a bit quicker, I've just set up a little projects folder to do that. If you want to do that yourself, you can create a new project just by clicking the plus there and name your project. And then when you're browsing your folders, you can simply right click on an image and put it into the project by choosing add to project, or you can go straight and add to new project and create the project at the same time. So let's go to my images, and this is the one I'm going to work with, and simply double clicking on that and it brings up my image in the develop module. Now here's where people usually go wrong, and it's not really their fault. It's how every other piece of editing software has trained us. Your instinct is to look for black and white and toggle a switch and then work with a set of sliders. But that's not how this works, and it's not how a darkroom worked either. You're not choosing a filter, you're going to choose a film stock, an actual physical material with its own character. So on the left here in the film group, I've set this to black and white. So that just brings up the black and white images. And then I'm going to choose a preset. For instance, I'm going to choose this Ilford HP5 plus 400. Straight away, the tonal response is different to a generic conversion. The midtones hit differently. There's a natural contrast curve built from the actual paper this stock would have been printed on. It's not just a slider stretching your histogram. If it's a touch flat, there's a push-pull control. And this mimics pushing the film in development, changing the contrast and the grain together, the way it would in a real darkroom. I'll push this one about a stop so that I get more separation between the black cave roof above me and the lit rock face beyond, without losing detail in the stone underfoot. That's step one, and it's the one people rush, so take your time here. The stock you choose is doing more work than any slider you'll touch afterwards. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to crop this to a square ratio. So I'm going to choose square, and I'm going to line this up to where I wanted, and I'm going to do something like this. Now, if I zoom in on this, you can see around the edge of the bright part of the water, there's a sort of soft, warm glow about it. And that wasn't all in my raw file. It's not just mist. That's the software responding to the brightest points the way a physical negative would. And it's an effect called halation. And it's one of the things that quietly separates a real print from a digital one. On film, light physically scatters within the emulsion around bright highlights, showing up as this soft glow. Now, digital sensors don't do that, which is why black and white can look strangely clean and clinical. Scroll down to the halation panel, and you'll see 8 profiles to start from. Pick one close to what you're after, and then switch to custom and unlock the individual sliders. The two worth knowing are amplify, which is really the sensitivity of that glow, push it and the effect gets stronger, and pulls warmer. And the other one is impact, which works more like opacity on top of it. The other half of texture is grain, and it lives in the film grain panel just above. Same approach, pick a starting profile. I've gone with 35mm ISO 50, and then you switch to custom mode to unlock the sliders. Now, most grain effects look wrong because they're just pasted over the top of the image, but this one reacts to the actual brightness in each part of your photo, and it's split by tone, shadows, midtones, and highlights. They each get their own amount. So you can have it heavier in the shadows and barely there in the highlights, the way a real film behaves. There's also a resolution setting which controls how much fine detail survives underneath the grain, which is worth knowing if you're doing large format prints rather than just posting online. If you're new to this, don't go heavy-handed with either. I find the best way is to push it too far and then pull it back. Take the grain and halation up until it's obviously filmic, so you can see what each one's doing, then dial it back until it goes quiet again. If someone looks at your photo and says, ooh, that's got a grain filter on it, you've overdone it. The best use of this software is when someone just says the photo feels right and they couldn't tell you why. Now, you can try this software for free, and if you want to buy it, you can pay outright or you can pay monthly. Use the code NiftyFifty and you'll get a 10% discount. Right, I'm happy with this image. Now, if you're only processing one photo at a time, you could stop here. But most of us come back from a shoot with dozens of images, and that's where you can save yourself some serious time. Head back to the browser. So I'll apply this and go back to our folders in the browser and select the rest of your images from that session. Copy the edits from this shot, select the others and paste. Everyone now carries the same film stock, grain and halation, instantly consistent, the way a whole roll would have come back from the same developing tank. Now, the last step is to export, which is this little icon up here. You select the folder and you select the format, JPEG if you want to share it, TIFF if you want to take it further in another piece of software. You can set your quality, I usually leave it to 100, and let it either go through the individual image or batch through the lot. So that's your whole workflow from start to finish. Open your folder, choose your film character, dial in the texture, and copy across your session and export. I'll be honest, for a long time I didn't think I needed this. I thought Silver Efex did everything I needed, and it still earns a place in my workflow. But there's a gap it doesn't close, that physical, imperfect, slightly warm quality a real negative has printed on real paper. Look at these two side by side. Same Cauldron Falls shot. This one's Silver Efex with some manual dodging and burning on top to shape the light, and it does the job. It feels very sharp, crisp, and that fall of light feels deliberate. It's hand built. This one's the Dehancer version. No manual masking at all, just the film profile, some grain and halation doing the work on their own. The image feels softer. See how the rock on the right hand side is more obvious. and there's a fine grain sitting across the foreground rocks that the hand edited version doesn't have. That's the difference. Dehancers, the first thing that's actually got me back to that photo album of old prints. Not just a nicely contrasted black and white photo, it's genuinely got the look of analog film and paper. That's Dehancer Desktop start to finish on a real image from the Dales. Now, if you want to try it yourself, there's a link in the description with a 10% discount. It's an affiliate link, so I earn a small commission if you use it, but the discount's for you either way. If you want the fuller picture of how I build tone and mood into black and white work, before you even reach for software like this, grab my free ebook, The Art of Intentional Black and White Photography. The link's in the description, there's no cost to it, you just need to sign up. Next time, I'm heading back to the Dales to show you how to get a great photo in harsh midday light with just one lens in your bag. So if that's of interest, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it.